Well, hey, everybody, welcome to the Simplified Church podcast. I am so grateful that you are here with us today. And I'm super excited, as always, to get to hang out with my co-host, Mike Whittemore. Mike, how in the world are you, my friend?
Man, if I was any better, I might get arrested, dude. Like, I'm real good.
Man, I'm telling you, I saw the updated profile pic today on social. It was on point, and I wasn't sure which was more, if it was like trying to, they're like Sith Lord. Like, I wasn't sure which.
I like to keep people on their toes, man. I like to keep folks guessing. Now, we did a little guys trip, played a little hooky from work, and did a guys trip, and we went down and just did some cool stuff down in Bourbon Country.
All right.
And a buddy of mine he does a little photography work on the side, and he took his camera and was taking some kind of cool pictures of some stuff we were touring, and it was just a kind of real cloudy, rainy, wet day, and so he's just kind of messing around taking photos, and he sent that to me, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a keeper. So
it's good. It's good. Yeah. For those of you who are following Mike on social media, you should take a look and give it some love, because it's a good shot. It's
a good photo. It makes me look less ugly. So, which I always appreciate. You know, the magic of Photoshop is not lost on me. Matter of fact, it's found a home. So yeah, but I'm good, man. How are you doing? How are you holding up today?
I'm doing well, man. It's typical Midwestern weather today. It was muggy and rainy this morning. It looks like the sun did come out, but rain is coming. So, fun, exciting stuff with that. But all in all, I'm doing good. I'm really looking forward to the weekend, getting to put my feet up a little bit and catch my breath, and then run full sprint toward lots of big things going on at church in the next couple of weeks. But things are good. Family's doing well, all those kind of fun stuff. Now, I do know for those of our folks who are listening, as we record this today, our co-host with the mostest did have a birthday this last week. So Mike is 29 and a half again.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I wish, dude, if I could go back, if I could cash in and gain a free decade, I'd be all right. I'd be all right on that. But no, 41, dude. All right. 41. And I've got the gray in the beard to show for it.
Hey man, I'm hoping that the gray in my beard will start to arrive. Like,
you're hoping for that?
Yeah, man. Because then I can be the old curmudgeon and be like, we're not doing that.
Let me tell you something. You don't need gray in your beard to be a curmudgeon. That's just a choice. That's a decision you make, and I'm gonna flip the switch, and from now on, I'm mad at everything and everybody. So that's just a switch you flip, bro.
Okay, I thought you had to like be at least appear to be a certain age and have gray before you could do that.
No,
okay. Or like a crooked finger.
Sorry, that got me tickled. Yeah, I just envisioning you graying your beard, angry about whatever you just got at Cracker Barrel, with a crooked finger, just laying into that poor waitress.
That's right.
And the awful day she's having.
Speaking about Cracker Barrel, at some time we need to talk about the fact that they're like selling mimosas now. Like, what? Like, who goes to Cracker Barrel needing a mimosa? Like.
Well, here's the good news, Greg. You just found the switch. Okay? You just found the switch, and you went ahead and flipped it for everybody to hear.
Hey, I'm trying.
Look, you gotta look. The generations have changed. It's not our grandmas and great grandmas that are hitting the CBs now. You've got a younger generation going, and every once in a while, that brother's like, "Look, I want some chicken and dumplings." And I want a mimosa, and if he can't get it, he'll take his business elsewhere.
But isn't the appropriate drink for like a Cracker Barrel like moonshine? Like, isn't that the?
Now, I think you have a strong point, actually. Yeah,
it's not about them serving alcohol. Like, I don't care.
Right? Yeah. Who cares?
But like,
It is weird. I will say that is strange. Like if you're going to go through the hassle of making this cultural jump as a company to try to be like more relevant or reach a, like a younger base or whatever you're trying to do, whatever the point behind it is. And you think you're going to go so off brand, that like mimosas and then Bloody Marys and, and we're mint juleps during Derby season. Like what is happening, at Cracker Barrel, no, I totally get it. Not that I know anything about those drinks. I read about them.
That's right.
In an online article. So
that's right.
And our trip to bourbon country was research purposes only.
That's right.
So we can judge people. That's the only reason we went. But
so now that I've flipped the curmudgeon switch.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to topic number 2. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Let's start talking about Walmart and all the things we hate about that. No, it's funny, man. Just 41, you turn that age, and I do find myself like maturing in like new areas of thought in my life where things that I thought were important, I don't really think are important anymore. It does, like your perspective does really begin to change as you exit your 30s and kind of enter into this. Like my friends have been very kind to me, and they're like, 41, like, dude, you're just, it's midlife right now. And I was like, I don't know if you've seen me, but midlife was about 15 years ago. So I'm on the tail end of that ride, but
I plan to die young, make a pretty corpse.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, man, drive fast and leave a pretty corpse. Is always the goal. But I do feel like my perspective has begun to change more in the last few years. And, you feel like you kind of mellow out. I think that's the one things that I'm enjoying is I'm just not as amped about stuff as I used to be, and I don't think that's because I'm slowing down necessarily. It's just, I think your fights look different. The things that you get passionate about, you get fired up about, it looks different. So that's kind of cool. So I'll give props to that, but you're still a whippersnapper. You're still a youngin.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got, a couple more years before I hit 40.
Yeah. Enjoy it, brother.
But
enjoy it like a beach vacation.
Hey,
just enjoy those days. Let them go by slow.
Yeah. Because as you can tell, I am somebody who goes to the beach.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. I imagine when you show up on a beach and take your shirt off, people run over because they're concerned about your translucent complexion. And they're trying to
cover you. Where you are? Do you know where you are?
You'll be dead in 12 minutes. Put this on. So
do you need a lean-to?
Yeah, so we could build you one quickly. We have people.
That's right. That's right.
It's a nice beach lean-to hide under. Yeah, Greg's what we refer to as a day walker. So he's able to be out for short periods of sunlight.
That's right.
But no, man, I am glad that you get some time to kick up and rest a little bit because, I mean, I'm sure you're finding yourself in the same boat that every other pastor in America, especially, hopefully is like, okay, now we're staring down the barrel of Easter is upon us. And it came quick, didn't it, dude? Like, it's crazy.
I say this every year, but man, it seems like the turn time between Christmas and Easter just grows shorter and shorter.
I know,
every single year.
It's bananas.
It's
not like I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I guess from my perspective, it doesn't feel like Easter is particularly early or late. It feels very appropriate. It's kind of there, early part of April.
It does, but yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but it just seems like even for a guy who likes to be well prepared, that I'm behind the 8 ball on some stuff for Easter, and that's just
it doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't. But this too shall pass, and the things that that I'm probably hung up on right in this moment, no one will know,
right?
And
you,
yep, and it will be fine whether they get done or they don't. And so, but yeah, it's that crazy season. But at the same time, super excited about what will be.
Well, I'm hoping that today's podcast, just as we're talking through it, will be as encouraging to you as it is to everybody else, because honestly, that's what we want to hope to accomplish today, folks, is we want this episode to be an episode where we're not necessarily getting into the nuts and bolts or the complexities of ministry, or trying to help you simply come up with solutions to the things you're overwhelmed by. But really what we want to do is let you use this episode as somewhat indulgent. So hopefully you'll be able to laugh, and you'll be able to relate, but also, I don't know, really be encouraged. And I know that encouragement is one of those things we use, but I feel like, and I don't know if you feel this way, bro, but I feel like with encouragement, it's one of those things that we say, but we often say it kind of tongue in cheek, or we say it in such a cliche way. But encouragement is such an important ministry in the church and to the church, that it's the one that we probably practiced. I think we practice maybe the least, if that makes sense. We say it, but man, how many folks need to be encouraged, and how often is it that when we are encouraged or people go out of their way, it makes us feel uncomfortable sometimes. They're like, I want to encourage you, and they'll say something really kind or uplifting, and we're like, this is weird. It's funny how that happens.
Or the need to be self-deprecating
right
in that moment, so that you don't appear, that you are, a jerk.
Yeah. Or like prideful about it or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so funny. Like, no, encouragement is, I think it's one of those things that it brings life to the soul. It brings life to the soul. It brings kind of just a fresh wind. I always like to say it kind of puts wind back in the sails, And so that's kind of what our hope is with this, is so as you're listening to this during Easter week, this isn't one more thing for you to get a pen and paper out and to work on notes or to go back to, but really just whether you're driving to an appointment, or you're sipping over your coffee, or you're working at the gym, or whatever, you're walking your dog, whatever you're doing. This episode is meant for you just to laugh. And then we've got some, I think, important reminders. I would love to say there's some groundbreaking, life-changing truths that you need to hear. But oftentimes, as we say from the pulpit and have said, the important things are not things that we often teach for the first time, but are rather, they're things that we have to remind ourselves on the daily. Those are the important things. And so that's kind of what we want to hit on. So we've got some stuff for you to find some strength this Easter week, because you're probably tired. You're probably stressed out. You've probably got 1,000 things to get done, and your checklist seems to be growing for whatever reason. Why is there more stuff to do than when we started? But you just need to find a little strength, a little joy, a little encouragement this week. And so we want to give that to you. So to give you some inside baseball on how this episode is going to work, we've got it broken up into 2 parts. Okay. So we're going to start with the funny. We're going to start with the laugh stuff. And so I got to be thinking about Easter. Greg and I were talking about it. And I think, and I don't think I'm in the minority on this. I think for a lot of us, we've either seen, heard stories, or have experienced ourselves some fails. Some fails at Easter, like things. Why did I say that? Or why was that ever said? Or, things that we attempted and just didn't work, or like catastrophe occurs and it usually ends up to be a funny story somewhere, like after the medical bills are paid, and therapy sessions have been attended, but it ends up to be a funny story. But we've got some kind of funny, Easter fails that you can find these, and we're going to post links to them in the show notes so that you can watch them yourself. But there are ones that when I watched them, I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing I had 1,000 questions. I had 1,000 questions. So the way I want to do this on the first part of this is we bring the funnies, we talk about Easter fails. I'm going to set it up for us, and then I'm going to turn it over to Greg to get that kind of that blind reaction. Okay. So Greg's going to be our color commentator for this ball game, and he's going to be able to help us process emotionally everything we're experiencing. So I'll give you the first one. And this one's probably my favorite. Okay. I don't want to save it for the last. I just want to come out the gate with this one. So you've got a church that has somewhat of a contemporary cantata style sort of setup, but they obviously want to pull off some sort of production thing. They put all their eggs, no pun intended, into one basket in order to bring the production value to the highest point to give us this great, powerful moment of Easter. And so on stage, they've got a guy singing. And then they've got folks that are acting in the background. They got, so I'll bring you in on this. Okay, they got a Roman soldier who's kind of pacing in front of what is clearly a tomb. Okay, dark soldier, Roman soldiers pacing back and forth. This guy's singing, looks good, sounds good. It's a pretty cool moment. And then he gets to the big crescendo of the song, and you can tell, oh, okay, this is where Jesus has overcome death and hell in the grave, and he's about to emerge from the tomb, and the whole crowd's going to go nuts, right? So the way they decide to go about this is that someone made the decision. What this tomb opening needs is pyrotechnics. That's what we're going to need. We need fire
Agreed.
inside of a building.
Mhm.
Okay. And so they lined the either side of the tomb with these pyrotechnics. Guy gets to the big moment. The pyrotechnics go off. There's this huge glow that's supposed to be a glow. The tomb rolls over, okay, slowly. But here's the hitch in the giddy up. The stone of the tomb catches fire. And so now it's on fire. The tomb is on fire. And Jesus, the guy playing Jesus, I don't know, this dude, and the Academy Award goes to the guy who kept his cool, walks out of it like no big deal. Okay. And at this point, multiple things are on fire. Jesus has emerged. The Roman soldier and two other folks from the church are trying to put the tomb out. And the dude singing is still singing.
That's right. Yeah.
He turned around and he looked at the fire and made a conscious decision to go, the show must go on. And I've been practicing this song since before Christmas, and by God, we're going to finish this song. And my favorite part is not the one, not the two, but the 9 people that rush up with fire extinguishers to put out the tomb. And to me, that's the story of Easter. Remember, Greg, when
the fire out,
when Jesus arose from the fiery tomb, and all the guys with fire extinguishers showed up, and the Roman soldiers helping to extinguish the flame. Okay, so I would classify that as by far my favorite Easter fail of all time, and the crowd was wildly okay with everything.
Yeah. So it was good that when I watched that video that I didn't have a beverage because it probably would have shot out my nose.
Oh, 100%.
Second assessment. As much as I was loving the idea of hashtag flannelgraph 2023
right
for Easter, like I've been rethinking, we were talking about what was going to be our wow factor for Easter. And while I was hinging on flannelgraph, I'm now questioning, is pyrotechnics and a fiery tomb the right answer to our wow factor need?
Hashtag fiery tomb.
That's right.
That's
hashtag
it.
Fiery tomb.
Oh my gosh, dude.
But secondarily, yes, mad props to the guy who kept singing. Because he didn't drop a beat. He just kept singing like nothing was wrong. Here's my question.
Yeah.
The guy who runs up to grab the flaming stone.
Yeah.
Is that the youth guy?
Had to have been because he bolted with it.
Yeah. Well, and then the next guy gets up and he like throws something on the ground and then starts like laying on it. And I'm thinking,
he does start laying on it. Like, what are you doing?
Like, stop, drop, and roll is for when you're on fire, not when the rock's on fire.
Yeah. Like, dude, it was insane to me. It was insane how there was such a lack of concern from people in the audience. And
did somebody shout hallelujah from the back of the back of the
yeah. And if you listen closely, you hear people clapping at very inappropriate times. You know, it's like, what is happening right now with this crowd, man? And so really, I think the sad part in all this, brother, is I don't know how they top that the following year. I don't know what you do. You nearly burned down the church in the celebration of Jesus' resurrection. I don't know what you do. for year 2. I don't know. I don't know where you go from there.
Well, yeah. How do you handle Christmas? Like, how do you one up it for Christmas?
Well, I don't know.
I
I
mean,
think
I don't know that
yeah.
live camels.
And I don't think it compares.
No, I
If you're shooting Roman candles off the back of a live camel, watch this Northern Star. I don't know. Maybe that's it.
We saw your star in the east.
Yeah, and the west, and on my grandmother, and gosh, man, I don't know. Yeah, it's like everything was going great at the Christmas pageant until we caught a sheep on fire. Like I don't, and wool burns, guys. It is highly flammable. But I can tell you one thing. I would imagine that whoever's in charge of that production, I don't know, Grace aside, probably had to look for another job. I don't know. I don't know how you performance improve that particular situation. So that's a tough Easter fail. So I would say whatever crazy thing has happened to you in your ministry on an Easter or on a Sunday morning, if you've not nearly burnt the place down, I think you're doing okay.
Yeah.
I think you're doing okay.
If this is your church, like if you listening are the guy in the video, I want to meet you. So
yes,
out to us and tell us that it's you.
I would,
because I want to hear the rest of the story.
And I would love to shake your hand. Somebody find that guy singing in that video. I want to shake that dude's hand. That guy's got nerves of steel. Okay, he is the Chuck Norris of worship ministry. There is no question. Okay, so here's our second fail. It's much shorter and not nearly as climactic as the other one, but equally as funny. So you've got they've got the whole thing where Jesus is ascending, and they've got these cool columns on the stage. They've got all the smoke machines rolling, and people are singing, and they have a crowd out in front. They're praising, they're worshiping on the stage, and it's a big production. And they hooked up obviously a harness, to raise Jesus up. And as they're raising Jesus up off the platform, his hands are in the air, and the robe that he's wearing must have been designed by the same people that make hospital gowns, because the back of that thing comes completely undone. And apparently, due to some sort of crosswind that was existing in the auditorium that day, Jesus begins to slowly rotate 360 degrees, and his whole backside and his boxer briefs are exposed to God and everybody. And people are laughing. They can't control themselves. And he can't stop turning no matter what he does. And my favorite part of this whole thing is when he reaches back he can feel it. He knows it's open, and there's nothing he can do about it. He even reaches back to try to close it like a crazy guy running down a hospital hallway, trying to hold the back of his gown closed. He can't do it, and he just surrenders to the reality that now he's a rotating Jesus with an open with an open robe. I don't know. First impressions, Greg, on this Easter fail. What struck you about this one?
Oh man. Yeah. So several questions came to mind. First one was, did you not try this in dress rehearsal?
Yeah. Was this the dry run?
So that was my first question. Second question was, yes. Okay. Why did we jump to the ascension? So why did Jesus need to fly?
Yes. Why did he need to fly? Yeah. A lot of money spent on that decision to end with such tragic results.
Yeah. And then, who was head of costumings that didn't think perhaps Jesus needs to wear a robe and not whatever diaper he was wearing for the cross crucifixion scene?
So bad, dude. It was so bad. It does look like a diaper. Okay, you brought it up. I'll say, because you're gonna watch, you're gonna go, is that dude wearing like a diaper thing? It does not look good. It is not good at all. But I can tell you, I just have a strong feeling that was a one and done. Okay.
Yeah, there was no way that they were clamoring for that to be a repeat performance next year. None.
Yeah, nobody from Branson's calling saying, bring that down.
And even if they did, no one was signing up to be Jesus.
No. We've got a big old gaping hole right here on the callback sheet. Nobody wants to be that Jesus. Speaking of nobody that wants to be Jesus, let me give you our third and final fail. This one was a doozy. This one, there's a guy playing Jesus in a passion play for what is clearly a large church. And he ends up actually sitting down and doing an interview with the Babylon Bee, which is one of my favorite fake news publication sources that you can find. Love the Babylon Bee. Those bros know how to write. But this guy, he's telling the story, and you can see the video. It's crazy. He's playing Jesus, and they set it up to where he's supposed to get on this cross, and it's supposed to be this big, powerful moment where they nail him in, and then they're going to push the cross up, like you see in every passion play, Passion of the Christ, all the stories, that kind of stuff, right? Well, they get him on there, and there's supposed to be these pins that he holds on to, okay, in order to withstand the weight, because when they raise it up, they're going to drop it in this kind of hole they've created on the floor, and to lock it in place and to give it that big visual effect, right, of the cross dropping into the hole, right? So, well, someone forgot to put the right pin in, and so they put him on it. There's no stopping it now. There's like 9 people involved, and he's like trying to figure out what to hold on to, and they raise him. He's about 20 to 25 feet in the air when he's on that cross. Okay. I mean, we're talking, this is 20 feet is no joke. He's up on there, and no matter, he's trying so hard to hold on, but as soon as the force of him dropping into it, he falls right off onto the ground. And everyone just, he's like, you can hear the audible gasp of like, Jesus just fell off the cross and he's on the ground. And the whole thing kind of gets really weird. And in full Jesus costume, his wig's coming off, his robe's messed up. He gets up and he just goes, I'm okay. I'm okay. And then they try to get him back on, and he's like struggling. So he's got one arm up because he can't hold his weight with the other arm. It's an absolute disaster, dude. It's an absolute disaster. And I'm telling you, if you haven't seen it, and I know that you've seen it, what would you do, Greg, if you're in that situation? They've got you down. You're playing Jesus in this massive performance. All these people are there, and you come to realize you're in trouble. What do you do?
Yeah. So first thing I'm thinking is I'm going to meet Jesus right now.
You sniped me. I was taking a sip. I almost met Jesus. Yeah, no question, man.
So that's my first thought going through my mind. My second thought is, did I sign up for this?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Am I getting paid for this? Like, yeah. What's happening here? And then the administrator in me says, did he sign the release form?
Yeah. What's our insurance going to do? Yeah. I don't know how many Chick-fil-A gift cards it's going to take to buy this dude's silence, right. You know, but we need to get to the bank right now.
That's right.
It was crazy to watch because he just came straight down like a bag of cement and dropped. He was high in the air.
Yeah.
And lived to tell about it.
Yeah. And then there's that whole, okay, so do you get back up? Do you
what do you do? Yeah. I don't know where you go from there. I'm done.
I'm down for the count.
And I think the beauty of these fails is they create this reality that says we're all in the same boat. We've seen stories like this. We've heard stories like this. And maybe yours isn't an Easter fail, but I'm sure somewhere as you're listening to this, as somewhere in the back of your mind, you've got a story of like, oh man, let me tell you what happened to church when this pastor said this. The internet's full of that, right? Of like pastor gaffes and stuff they shouldn't have said, stuff that's really funny, stuff that's like, whoa, did that just really happen? It's crazy, right? So just keep in mind that like you don't have total control over how things are going to work out on Easter, despite your best efforts, despite how many rehearsals, you think, well, we have plenty of fire extinguishers for our pyrotechnics. I'm not worried, like you have no control, right? Like things are going to happen. So I think that's important to realize. Like, you're coming into it, Greg, you're prepared, but still, right? Like crazy things happen.
It does. And I think that we put undue pressure on ourselves on these big days. I mean, let's be honest. This last year, yes, Christmas did land on a Sunday, but Easter is the Super Bowl.
Yes,
as far as church ministry is concerned. Like, it's always on Sunday, and so this is your one shot, and you know, maybe you get two because you do two Easter services, but like, you want it to be the best that it possibly can be. But sometimes we get lost in the stuff, and we forget that it really truly is about the story of the resurrection of Jesus and the goodness of the gospel that we're proclaiming in that moment. And so it's important for us not to lose the significance of Easter with all of the stuff that we put into Easter, trying to get people to come.
Yep. Man, that's good.
And so I think it's important as we're going into Easter week to be remembering why we're doing what we're doing. It's the opportunity to share the good news of Jesus with those around us, and many of whom this might be one of the only opportunities that they're going to give themselves to hear the gospel this year.
Yeah, that's good, dude. That really is. And I think that is that kind of like first encouraging thought, and I think that's worth like simmering on, like, because we get so caught up in like all the particulars of what we're trying to accomplish that it really is that there's a significance here of Easter, and the significance is not the performance. No. It's not all the events that we're doing. It's what you just said. It's the proclamation of the gospel,
But that should stir up within us excitement.
Yes. Totally.
And enthusiasm of, man, I'm going to have the opportunity today to share the good news of Jesus with people who maybe aren't going to hear it again the next, 364 days.
Yeah.
Or maybe ever. And so being able to take that level of excitement and enthusiasm into the opportunity to say, hey, what we sing, we're going to sing the gospel. We're going to pray the gospel. We're going to preach the gospel. We're going to, all of those things. We're going to live the gospel so that these folks who have gathered on this morning are going to clearly hear the good news of Jesus today. And so I think that's super important for us to remember as we come into Easter week.
Yep. I love that. I'd say the second kind of encouraging thought to piggyback on that, and we've been kind of alluding to it, but I think you hit it too, is in learning to trust in God's provision, right? Like, this isn't trusting in your own skill set. This isn't trusting in your own talent or the talent of your team or the talent of your volunteers or whatever lengths you've gone to create this incredible experience. Like, and I don't mishear me. I'm excited that you have an incredible experience for people to come and hear the gospel, maybe in a fresh way. But there's a sense with which that we have to trust in God's provision. Like, preparing for Easter can be super daunting. And like, we have to remember that God has equipped us with the necessary skills and knowledge to deliver a powerful message. So particularly for those of you that are in charge of preaching on Sunday morning, right? Mm-hmm. Like, God has given you this passion. He's giving you this fire in your belly. He's giving you this gift to clearly and effectively and even powerfully articulate the full counsel of God. Yeah. And so, like, remember that and trust in that provision, and let that be kind of the guiding force for you in the big day. So don't like stress out or bang your head on the wall because you can't find the perfect story or perfect illustration or perfect video to set you up or like whatever it is, like, it's okay. God has given you this fire in your ability to preach. Trust in his provision, and that will drive it.
And if nothing else, just show one of those fail videos and say, hey, at least I didn't do that.
Yeah. This could have been us. Okay. So we're going to pray, and then we're going to do an invitation. Okay. We're going to pray. And then we're going to take up a special offering for that one church, because I'm sure they still got burn marks in that red carpet on stage. So yeah, man, just God's going to provide for you. He's going to clearly give you the words that he wants you to say as you exposit the truth of Scripture. Right. So that would be my second kind of encouraging thought for you guys going into Easter week this week.
Yeah. And I think as we frame that, it leads us right into saying that we need to ensure that the message of the gospel is what gets the lion's share of our attention.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there are going to be other logistical things that have to happen, things that, okay, yeah, we got to make sure that we've got coloring pages for kids and that we've got, the Easter Bunny outfit. And I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Never preach in an Easter Bunny costume.
No.
That's the quickest way for us to talk about you on this podcast.
That's true. That's true. But do give your attention to the message that you will proclaim about the gospel, and not just the spoken word, but yeah, what you sing, what you pray, what you highlight in a video, what you put into the hands of your people, whether it's a worship guide or a prayer guide or whatever it might be. All of those things, do they proclaim the message of the gospel? Because that is the most important thing that we're doing. Yes, every week, but especially on Easter, when we've got folks who don't consistently do church, that they might hear the good news of the gospel of Jesus in those moments.
Yeah, I heard a guy was talking one time about, if you show up on any given Sunday at the church, you might hear a message, excuse me, you might hear a message in a series of messages, or you might hear something that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense because you don't have the full context. But the beauty of Easter is it's like laser focused on the clear reason why we exist as a church, why we do everything else we do around here 364 days a year, everything else that drives our programming, our decisions, the content that we put out, the preaching calendar, you know what I'm saying? Like that Easter is that time to draw a laser focus on it. And so really that, in a lot of ways, from my perspective, I think it takes the stress off of it, because you're not going to convince anybody necessarily out of one day, out of one thing, to like come and make your church home. What you can do is present them with the truth and the offense of the gospel, and let the Holy Spirit do his thing. And you can laser in on that. So yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you. I think focusing on the message, and I think after you've done all that, as you've worked through everything you've got to get done, your checklist, all of your I's dotted, your T's crossed, your rehearsal's done, checks written, whatever it is. The last encouragement that I would give it's a twofer. But I think, I don't know, maybe this just speaks to my heart the most, but the fourth one would be pray then rest. It really is that simple. Like, just pray and then rest. Like, I think, Greg, I can speak for you in this, because I know that we've talked about it, and I know that I felt it particularly, but the anticipation of Easter can bring a lot of excitement, man. It's a lot. There's a lot of excitement. You know that you're going to have a larger attendance. You know, there's going to be guests. You know, there's going to be people there that you haven't seen in a long time, probably, I think there's a lot of anticipation around that, but I think there's also this level of anxiousness, because the church has got like a full bag of activities, right? Maybe you're doing your egg hunt, you're doing your Good Friday, you've got a worship night thing you got going on, you got a communion service, you're doing an outreach event, right? Like you're trying to collect resources to give them away to people, like whatever it is. Like, your calendar is maxed and the work is plentiful, and you're just kind of worried that everything's supposed to happen the way that it's supposed to. So I think good advice, maybe practical advice, maybe the most important thing is to block off some time early this week and just pray. Just pray. Get alone, get quiet, lay all of it before the Lord, and just trust him with the burden and the stress and the preparation, knowing that God is going to be able to do what only God can do. That's right. That is such a cliche thing to say. Like, I know it is. But just because it's cliche doesn't mean it isn't true. Like, there are things that God can do that you can't. And that's really good news. That's really good news. So I think trusting him for what only he can do, and that God will bring the people, and that he will bring the results that he desires. So I think you pray, and after you've prayed that prayer, after you've blessed the name of the Lord and you've given him over everything and you put it in his hands, then I think like this would be a game changer, dude, for Easter week, is rest before Easter, not after it. We all do that. It's like Monday. Hey guys, we just want to let you know, staff, the office is closed Monday after. It's like a holiday for us. That's cool. Do that too.
Yeah,
absolutely. But if you want to really make this a game changer, like if you want to find real strength this Easter before Sunday hits or the calendar hits, is take a break before. Yeah. Take an evening, a chunk of time, I don't know, whatever it is, and put your prayer into action. I think that would be the game changer for the week, Yeah.
No, I think that's incredibly helpful advice. And yeah, I'm with Mike. I would say absolutely. If you can find that time, if it's Wednesday, if it's Thursday, leading up to the weekend, just take some time, even if it's just a few hours.
Yes.
Yeah. And then absolutely on the backside, Monday, like take the day. I'm just curious, like when they win the Super Bowl, they get to go to Disney.
Right.
Like when we win after Easter is over, like, is it staff trip to Disney? Like
no,
what?
It's a budget meeting followed by a deacons meeting. That's immediately. That's what we do. That's the way it works. There should be something, and maybe that's you know what, Greg, you might be scratching at an episode idea for down the road here. How do we talk about celebrating together as a team in the wake of these big kind of life moments within the cycle of the church,
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's not a trip to Disney. I don't know. Maybe you could take up that special offering on Sunday and, we're taking 2 offerings up on Easter. One's for the church and the other one's for a trip to Disney. I don't know, but yeah, I think these are good reminders. Like nothing we've said is going to be like groundbreaking, earth shattering, but I think it is going to be a fresh reminder, a fresh push, because somebody who loves you, pastor, church leader, volunteer, love you. We pray for you. We're concerned about your longevity and your health and ministry. Somebody needs to tell you this. These are the things that are of first importance, right? To remember the significance of Easter, trust in God's provision, focus on the message, pray, then rest. Because man, in those moments, you get to see God's providence, his provision, and his sovereignty on full display. And so worshiping on Sunday is going to be a little bit sweeter. That's the beauty. God isn't just sovereign over death, and he's not just sovereign over life. He's sovereign over everything in between. And that's really cool. So those are our ways to find strength, our 4 encouraging thoughts for Easter this week. And some Easter fails. And so as we wrap things up, I'm going to give you just a little bit of another kind of Easter fail. I debated on if I was going to slip this one in, but I'm going to slip it in. But we were looking at one, and I'm watching this Easter fail, and it's super weird, like the way everything's kind of unfolding. And at the end, they worked for quite a while, and I think the song they were using was "O Fortuna," and they had that song going in the background, which is like a weird backtracking for the crucifixion. And they get Jesus basically rope tied to this cross, and they stand it up. And I don't know, maybe it's a cultural thing, but from my perspective, that's a somber, wow, kind of heavy moment. And people were clapping, we're like, yeah, Jesus is dead. I'm like, this is weird. This is weird. So I just share that to remind you that, I don't know, you can't always predict how people are going to respond to what you do. And so you may walk out of Easter going well, that was like a lead balloon. That didn't work at all. And you know what? It's okay. It's still okay, because the gospel still the most powerful, true message in all of history. So
that's right.
It's a good word. So anyway, gang, thanks for hanging out with us. Hope you feel encouraged. Hope you got to laugh a little bit. Hope you got to unwind a little bit. Take some time this week to do these things. And we look forward to hearing your stories and how the Lord moved. A couple of quick things we want to hit you with before we jump off this episode. Man, we'd love to hear from you. You can always email us, podcast@simplifiedchurch.com. Love to connect with you on social. Find us on Facebook. But just also know, we do more than just resource pastors with, kind of these tools and ideas to outsource the overwhelm. Man, as a company, we're here to get into the nitty-gritty of of how ministry works. And so we offer a barrage of services. Particularly, we do a lot of stuff with bookkeeping, budgeting, online giving. We have a ton of resources we'd love for you to check out at simplifiedchurch.com, where you can go and get more information on how we can come alongside your church to help you, just get better and freed up at these things that can be so daunting and overwhelming, so you can focus on your ministry. So simplifiedchurch.com is where you can find that information. Otherwise, have a great Easter. Can't wait to celebrate with you, and we'll talk to you next week.